Welcome to Parenting Toolbox TV. And Liz and I are really, really delighted to welcome Layla Gordon today, who is a nutritionist. And she helps clients overcome issues such as chronic fatigue, gut health issues, autoimmune conditions, and chronic health concerns, and also works with a very preventative hat on, I would say. And I'd just like to add that she's been voted the UK's most transformational nutritionist of 2023. Woo! That's amazing. Yeah, and her passion is really, dietary nutrition advice and support. So welcome, Layla. Welcome today.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you both. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's great. So, at Talking Nutrition, we are what we eat, as they say, don't they? And this is a topic, we try and cover topics that cover parenting, but also how parents can help their kids. And so nutrition covers both angles there, doesn't it? Both parents and to be on their top of their game, and for kids as well. And I know it's quite hard to get our kids to eat what we want them to eat. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, my children are just like every other child, should we say? So sometimes there is bribery involved.
Mm-hmm. How old are your children, Layla?
So mine are 10 and 3. So to give you a bit of a background, I guess, as to this, because it does involve my children or my daughter. My husband was suffering with IBS actually for some years during when we were, married and in the early years of his career. Yeah. And actually when my daughter turned 7, she started to get the signs of IBS. So, bloated stomach, there was other things going on with her sleep problems, for example. And I was always very passionate in nutrition and health, really always fascinated by it. So when my son was 5, so I waited until he was actually in reception, I started studying, pretty hardcore studying, because I'd managed to help my daughter, to overcome her IBS symptoms with the use of testing, diet, supplements. She's absolutely fine now because the young body is very, very robust and quick to bounce back, as we know. And I was just blown away by this, and really the fact that if you catch a child early on in these stages, that the body can, ultimately reverse and heal itself. So yeah, my daughter's journey is very much tied into the work that I do, but that doesn't mean to say that I don't struggle, on a daily basis with both my children's eating habits and what's out there at parties and in the shops and etc. So yeah, it's the same for every mother. It's just how we manage it.
It's hard. I find it. Yeah, I find it really hard. My children are 12 and 17. Now, the 17-year-old has taken control of his own diet thanks to TikTok and following various people who, to be fair, are brilliant. So there's loads of really good hacks and really good influencers who are eating healthily. But I sometimes worry that he's getting too obsessed with the whole clean. So clean eating, protein shakes, going to the gym. But I let him off a lot. I do let him just do his own thing. I just keep an eye on it. But the 12-year-old is the one I struggle with. And I find it very stressful trying to have that conversation, not just about what she eats, but what are we going to have for dinner? What are we going to have for dinner? Oh my God, since COVID, that question kills me. It makes me sick to my stomach. And I don't, we've come up with ideas, but have you got any tips to help me try and jazz off?
Well, I agree with you. So I think my daughter is a better eater, shall we say, than probably my son, who's 10. I think there is, in that age range, I do think they've been particularly well marketed to. Obviously, with ultra-processed foods on the rise, Prime is,
Prime. Oh my God,
Prime's a problem. And so, their taste buds and what they're being exposed to, I think, has really led to it being even harder for us. So, my son is probably the harder one. And one thing I did do was try and find a balance. I actually took him to the supermarket with me, and I said, right, let's just, anything you want, we'll put it in the basket. Obviously, no one could see what was in my basket that day because it was not very nutritionally diverse, shall we say, but I let him take a little bit of control. And from that point, we managed a bit of a balance. So it's a bit of what he wants, a bit of what I want. And then ultimately from there as well, we've actually created a little weekly chart, and the food is what I have to say is what he's picked out, but then obviously I've weaved in what the rest of the family would like, so that actually he feels like he's eating a bit more what he wants and not what's just put in front of him every evening.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting you're saying going to the supermarket, because why do we always get caught after that last aisle when you've just been down and you might put some ice cream or some crisps in the top, you know, of your shopping trolley, and you always bump into someone and it's like,
yeah. When we got to the fizzy drinks and he wanted a 6-pack of Fanta, and I was just like, no, this can't be happening. Like, no one can see the trolley right now. And I didn't have the Fanta. I had to stop there.
Like it is moderation in everything, isn't it, though? I know when I was growing up as a dancer, you know, we were so strict on what we could and couldn't eat, and my moderation, you know, shifted a bit one way, but it is about moderation, isn't it? And just having that healthy balance so they don't go over the top on things.
But that's difficult, isn't it? Because the thing with moderation, I hate the word moderation as a former grey area drinker, because moderation was misery to me. And I find sometimes that when something is ultra processed, it's highly addictive. Exactly. So things that are absolutely laced in sugar, and it's those hidden sugars that sneak up on you, like in, say, bolognese sauce or whatever, however they manifest, that, you know, it gives it almost, I think, kind of shames the kids. It's really important to, when we give them that control, that they've got the knowledge that, do you know what, the big food industry is out there to catch you. So I think if you give them that knowledge, then they can, you know, they want to moderate, they can. But I find moderation is a hard one, because some people are going to be, you know, more inclined to go for the next biscuit and the next biscuit and the next biscuit, because that's how they're made. That's how our brain responds.
Yeah, interesting. I did a talk globally actually last week on the problem of ultra processed foods, and I did this online, and it's a really hot topic at the moment because it is a big problem. And like you say, that these ultra processed foods are made to be addictive, palatable, satiating, and we just want more, and it creates this negative cycle with the dietary patterns. You know, there's interestingly, MSG is 10 times more prevalent in ultra processed foods. So that's glutamate, which is naturally occurring. It's a naturally occurring compound. Even in greens, you're going to get a level of glutamate, but it's a really small amount. And when you process the food, it times it by 10. So this MSG is that sort of satiating, addictive property that we know is we think Chinese foods, but it's actually a lot in the processed foods as well.
Right. So where would you find that if we were having like processed food? You'd see it in Chinese, because I can taste, I know that taste from the gloopy kind of sauce. But what other kind of processed foods would you see that in? Would it be in like crisps and things?
Yes, so anything that's ultra processed, so that's gone through such an extreme level of processing. So Professor Tim Spector would call these things food-like substances. Yes. So we know there's processing, there's processed food, and then there's ultra-processed food. So olive oil is processed. Naturally, you know, ancient methods are used to press the oil. Some canned foods can be healthy, you know, they can include nutrients and be nutritious. Ultra-processed foods, we're talking baked, fried, packaged, even, you know, bars. So watch out for the teenagers getting into protein bars. These are still processed.
I like, but it's interesting, because I read somewhere as well that it's what these processed foods are packaged in as well. That's what's transferring when you warm things up in the oven or whatever, that transfers through to the food. That's just really unhealthy for you.
Yes, I'm a nightmare. We don't even have a microwave, I must admit, because I just believe in, you know, heating things up the old-fashioned way with stainless steel in an oven, because plastics can affect hormone levels, and particularly obviously for girls, you know, teenage girls, we don't want an overproduction of synthetic estrogens, for example, because that's going to cause an overload of what is already quite high hormones.
Yeah, amazing. And also, I know you're really have a massive interest in the gut health as well, don't you, Layla? So, you know, what actually we're eating and the effects that has on the gut, but then that effect that has on mental health as well. The brain gut connection is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll just read this out because it's quite wordy. It's a blog that I wrote, but it says research shows that there's a strong link between what we call the gut-brain microbiota axis, the gut-brain neural network, the HPA axis, so the hypothalamus and the pituitary, and the gut immune and neurotransmitters. So basically, it relates to everything. Hormones, you know, a lot. The gut bacteria, the trillions and trillions of gut bacteria that are in our gut, on our gut lining, communicate with the immune system, send messages up to our brain. This is why it's so important. You know, they help to produce serotonin, you know, these happy hormones. Thinking about, you know, young children, you know, we want them to be feeling a good sense of well-being, you know, when they're going into exams and dealing with, you know, the pressures of life and friendships and things like that. They can crack a healthy gut microbiome now. It's going to stand them in such good stead for everything to do with their life going forward.
Yeah, and it is about creating those healthy habits now, isn't it? Regardless of whether it's behavior or whatever, but actually just forming those great habits now with what you're eating and what you're putting into your body has a massive effect, as you say, going forward and taking you into adulthood. But it's interesting that you picked up on there on sort of exams and things, and it's like, you know, what do you eat before you go into a 2-hour exam? Or, you know, are young teenagers eating healthily or well enough to keep their body sustained throughout those exams? You know, it's massive. This area is a massive topic, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think it's really hard with children, with teenagers, to steer them away from the high sugar hitting items, you know, like you're talking about going into an exam. Yeah, it's going to, the brain does fuel off glucose, so you need a certain level of glucose to power up. Hello, to power up.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry, I was thrown off. Sorry. And
I thought it was something we said, Liz. Something we said. We're just talking about the connection.
A protein bar.
Yeah,
we're just talking about the connection between the gut and the brain.
So even from a very early age, I would say get your children eating as much protein and fiber as possible. I know that's easier said than done, but like you said about the bolognese, things with children can be so high in sugar, you know, and that's fine. Obviously, if it's a birthday party, you know, if it's a weekend, if they're out for pizza and ice cream with a bunch of friends, you just got to let that one go. But what happens in the home, you can really try to steer in the right direction. Fiber feeds the good bacteria, slows down blood glucose control. Protein is obviously essential for building, you know, muscles and managing blood glucose control as they go into an exam. So I'd love to see my kids eating a nice piece of sourdough with scrambled egg and avocado. Makes me feel really happy over a bowl of cereal any day.
Why sourdough, Layla, in particular?
Well, unfortunately, bread from the supermarket could be categorised in that ultra-processed foods list.
Oh, wow.
What, the white Warburton type?
And I mean, if you look at a loaf of bread from the supermarket, if you actually turn it over and look at the ingredients, there's probably about 20 to 30 ingredients. So you would class that as an ultra-processed food. Maltodextrin, emulsifiers, probably MSG. You know, and they've done that to make it extend the shelf life and make it that nice, fluffy, you know, palatable, tasty nature. Sourdough is fermented, so it decreases the gluten and increases the gut bacteria.
Right, good. I'm because I know sourdough is good for you, and I know that it's a popular choice in, you know, nice little independent restaurants, you know, with the avocado and egg and things. And I do like that option, but I always wonder, why is the sourdough good? So I'm glad. I'm going to see if I can tell that.
Yeah, that's why the processing, the fermentation decreases gluten, and a lot of people, particularly children, actually, a lot of people do have issues with dairy, gluten, and sugar. Gluten's a little bit aggravating to the gut lining, so anything we can do to try to reduce it is going to be a good thing.
How does this sound? Because I'm a really busy single mum, I'm always rushing around. And when you mentioned the white bread there, there's always a sliced pan, we call it in Ireland. There's always a sliced loaf inside in the kitchen, because my daughter gets it. She'll make cheese when I'm busy, and I tend to go for it as well. So I'm thinking, how can I kind of do something for myself and possibly the kids as well? So does it sound like a good idea to replace that with sourdough bread? But also I'm thinking maybe having oats every day and soup every day. Does that sound like
great.
Good?
Oh, yeah, so I'll answer that. Yeah, most definitely. So I've been on a little bit of a mission. I have removed processed meat from the house. We will no longer be buying anything meat-wise from the supermarket. That has meant, it's a little bit out of my way, but I have to go down to the butcher's down at Whitecliff. I'm in there 2 to 3 times a week buying, fresh meat that's local, responsibly sourced. So I've gone one step further, and now I've found a bread. So it's an organic loaf, and it's in Camphor Cliffs, Oxford's bakery. That's the best price with the least ingredients. So again, it means I've got to go to the butcher's. I haven't actually got the time to do that, but I'm making the time. So that's my little tip for you. And then, in terms of oats, I would say yes, although not everyone gets on with oats. If you're feeling full from eating oats, fine. But if you feel hungry after eating them, maybe just check in on your blood sugar levels. And definitely soup, if you can get, if people in the household don't mind it, if you can get some chicken stock or some bone broth, this is excellent for the immune system. It includes collagen, which helps to build the gut lining, which is brilliant protective mechanism as we go into the winter months. Got lots of other nutrients, beneficial nutrients in there. Again, you can pick it up from the butchers, maybe if you go there, and make a big batch of a soup or a broth or a stew with the broth in it.
I made it. I can make it myself. I just boil up the bones of a chicken. Is that okay? That's what I do. And
I would say that. Some people find, suddenly it's all this, spending, half a day in the kitchen. But by all means, on a Sunday, get the chicken, boil up the bones. Brilliant.
I boiled it up, and do you know what I did? I don't know. Did I read this in some kind of, life hack, something? God knows. But I put it into little ice cube trays, and I started. So now I drop a few of those into my soup.
Yes, so when they're toddlers, and we all have those little ice cube trays with the lids for the weaning phase. If you've got any of those left, probably not. Although I seem to keep Tupperware for like decades and I don't need it. But definitely the little ice cube trays with the lids are really handy for making, like you say, little cubes of stock. Or I make a turmeric tea with it, and so I just pop the ice cube in and add hot water. So good hack.
Love that.
It's amazing. It's just thinking outside the box with these things, isn't it? And then making it easier for yourselves.
Well, I love tips like that, though. So for that turmeric tea, what's your recipe? Do you have it off the top of your head, or am I just putting you on the?
Yes, no, that's fine. It's lemon juice, turmeric, and apple cider vinegar with ginger as well. So I do have to sieve it. But that's all a bit of a faff. So what I do is make a batch, obviously add water as well. Blend it, sieve it, add water, and those key elements. So apple cider vinegar, really good for gut health. Turmeric, very anti-inflammatory. Lemon juice is very good for the liver, and it basically stimulates the digestion. So if you make up a batch, I do a similar with a salad dressing as well. I add mustard and make up a batch. And then, you can have one if you're cooking dinner, and it just helps to get the digestive juices going so you digest your food better, absorb the nutrients better.
I love it.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I suppose you could, if you had the tea bags, they do turmeric tea now. Would that be as good for someone to use, and then add those little bits as well? If you haven't got time.
It's time. It's all about time. I mean, I know some people have younger children, and I mustn't forget how difficult that is when you've got younger ones. It just isn't the moment, really. Doesn't really change the older they get, to be honest. But Running around all weekend, driving them to wherever they want to go is basically what happens with my life these days. But I've tried to pull out Sunday as my day for batch cooking. So I tried to get a little bit prepared, look through recipe books, pick out some things for the week. Weave it obviously into what my youngest son wants, because that's, he's in charge of that. And then spend Sunday trying to make up some batches, so that I'm really busy. This is my third interview of the day, so I knew that at lunchtime I had a dal ready and waiting in the fridge. I just warm it up. I've made 4 or 5 portions for the week.
Layla, I would love to know, on your website, could we get access to some of your little recipes or tips? Do you have anything like that?
Yes, so I do have a 30-day meal guide. It includes the turmeric recipe. It includes a guide as to what we call, the functional medicine guide to the balanced plate, shake recipes, like I said, 30, 40 recipes that are all low in carb, high in fiber, high in good protein, low in stress, because they don't take long to make.
I love that.
Share that link.
Could you just tell us
the website?
Layla Gordon, laylagordon.uk. But this is my guide. It's not on my website because only special people get linked to the guide. So shall I share? Do you want to share it in this?
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'll pop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's amazing. But it's interesting at the end there, you use that word stress. And I think, as parents, balancing, what we're doing with our children, but also as parents, balancing what we're doing in our work-life balance as well. And it's so important that nutrition can help us enormously, because there is that connection of, what we eat, gut, mental health, and all that side of things, isn't it? And it's, we've talked about being mums, but also there's the dads out there. And I know, Layla, you're really, you have a real passion about men's health, don't you, as well? So we mustn't forget the fathers out there as we're talking Parenting Toolbox TV. It's not just the mums.
About then. I think men's health really has had a back seat, unfortunately, but I think it really is coming to the forefront. There's a lot of men's health charities, mental health charities for men as well, talking about men at different stages of their life, going through midlife crisis, as they do definitely go through a male menopause. So just being proactive and preempting how a male might need support at different stages of their life is ultimately going to support you as a family. Even what they go through with fatherhood, new fatherhood, childbirth, etc. It's a lot that they're being forgotten about sometimes. So
and they often talk. They often don't talk about things, do they? So it's really important to drag those out and get them. Soldier on. I mean, we as a family in the evening, just to say that we're talking about stress and just trying to make life a bit easier. So we generally tend to have our supplements in the evening with dinner.
Wow. Okay, that's a good tip as well.
Yeah. When we wake up in the morning, we are like stressed, in that state of heightened, fight or flight. We're ready to kind of take on the day. So our digestive system, the blood's not flowing there. It's flowing to our extremities and our brain so that we can go and, seize the day. So that's maybe not the best time for absorption. So I've actually switched. So in the evening, I sit down with the kids. We have a bottle of omega-3 oil and a couple of other little bits that we all take, and I just put it on the table with dinner, and we all have our supplements then.
And do you
take
it out?
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting, because most people would think, on an empty stomach, get the body going to take your supplements in the morning. So I've never even thought about taking them in the evening. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, there was a piece of research that came out recently to say that we absorb much, much better in the evening when we're in a state of rest and digest.
Right. It makes sense, doesn't it? But do you have it after dinner or before dinner? Or does it matter?
I let the children eat their yummy food, and then they have the fish oil, which doesn't really taste very fishy. They don't mind. We normally do it sort of towards the end of the meal. Yeah.
I awful flashbacks of cod liver oil.
It's not like that. It's not as bad as that. But
I can vouch for that. I have tried Layla's oil, and it is very good.
But it's all personalised. It's very targeted. My daughter at the moment, she's 13, so she's taking some vitamin C and some zinc and some iron because she's potentially low in iron at the moment. My son's not taking anything apart from the fish oil. I mean, supplements are meant to be just that. They're meant to supplement what is already a healthy diet. So it's only if you need certain things, I would say, just targeted to each individual.
And you're sort of saying that, Layla, because you do testing, don't you, for certain things to see if people are low in, because, you know, we might think we're low in something, but actually, how do we know? Yeah,
we say test, don't guess. That's the way forward. Multivitamins are fine. Like, I do have some people, some clients, some individuals taking multivitamins for various reasons. But if you think a multivitamin is a very low dose of everything, so it's good if you just need to kind of cover all bases for one particular reason or the other. But I would probably go on more of a, let's do a blood test, if someone can do that, and see what your actual levels are. Vitamin D, for example, some people are genetically maybe, or, lower in vitamin D, and that's really important as we go into the winter. Iron stores is a really big one, like I say, for females. B12, another, important energy molecule, is quite often deficient. And, the omega-3 balance is, as you know, Jane, is a big one, big gap we're trying to plug globally.
So Layla, would you suggest going to our GP for a blood test and asking for like a batch of various kind of bloods, or what would be the best thing to do?
I think I probably shouldn't be recommending that, because the NHS is under so much strain. I'm trying to take that burden away. So unless someone has what we call a red flag or a genuine reason to have a blood test, the NHS are very good at facilitating that. But if it's more for a kind of, let's generally look under the bonnet and maintain your health from an optimal health and preventative standpoint, you might want to get into the routine of having an annual private blood test with a nutritionist like myself. I also work with Dorset Private GP Clinic, which also do health screens. So it's becoming very much at the forefront now, people in the UK doing, annual blood tests to check everything.
So being proactive about, keep it preventative about the health.
Exactly. Yeah. The NHS is mainly there, I would say, unfortunately, if someone is having an active problem and it needs, quite immediate response, whereas we're here to help prevent that happening in the first place by getting to some root causes and, like you say, preventing things that might happen 10, 20 years down the line. If I can see someone's blood sugar levels are heading in the wrong direction, or the cholesterol's a bit high, or they're low in certain vitamins and nutrients, or liver function, for example, why not turn the dial in the right direction? And like we're talking about today, the sooner we can do it for children, like, it's just such a powerful piece to be able to help children to really head down in the right direction with their health from as early age as possible, because that can just, imagine if you're on this path and then someone just helps steer you down that more healthy path. The implications of that can be so profound for their well-being and their performance and their goals and everything in life.
That's amazing. That's been so informative. Thank you so much.
Layla, thank you so much. It's been really, really incredible. So people can reach you on laylagordon.uk, was that correct? I'll put some links that we talked about earlier in the comments block, but thank you so much. I mean, this topic is just mammoth, isn't it? And we could go on and on and on, but
I'll share the blog that I've written, and I'll share the meal guide that I'm going to share with your community, because, thank you so much for always supporting me, Jane. And it's great to meet you, Liz. I think obviously we're on the same page. And if anyone's got any burning questions, then, just reach out to me. That's absolutely fine.
Fantastic. And it'd be wonderful to have you back on again at some point, because this, there's never ending things we can be talking about. So thank you, Layla. It's been great.
And I'm definitely going to go now on a crusade to find the nicest sourdough bread in Liverpool. That's what I'm going to do.
You're in Liverpool? Wow. Yeah, Liverpool. Do it.
Yeah. I'm very near Sefton Park. Do you know it, Layla? Have you been here?
I haven't actually. No, I've been to Manchester. I've not been to Liverpool.
Oh no, not Manchester.
Well, I'm heading up to Manchester on Friday, and I'll be meeting up with Liz for the weekend. So we're doing a talk, parenting, family talk, aren't we? Family and parenting talk up in Manchester. So.
Lovely. Well, I'll be happy to come on any time with you, lovely ladies. Like I say, we can pick out any topic, and we can deep dive and just support people, you know, in their health, mental, physical health.
And actually reaching out to anybody out there who's listening. If you have any topics or you have any questions that you want to ask, then please push them forward to us, and we'll try and cover everything we can. So thank you for joining us, and thanks, Layla. Take care, Liz.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everyone. Thanks. Bye.